Welcome to the Soul Center podcast, where we reclaim our stories. This is a space for practical wisdom. And if you're tuned in today, you're in for a special treat. I don't think I've ever been this excited to speak to someone. This episode is with Mr. Gregory Mevs, who is a leader. He is a dynamic, healer, culturalist. He understands history. His wealth of knowledge is transformative. And so when I sit with him, I feel that I am transformed. I learn so much. He is a beacon of light and love. He has basically revolutionized industries in the Caribbean, in Haiti, and we are so honored to be able to have time to sit with him to discuss who we are as a Caribbean region, as a people. We're going to dive into geopolitics and his journey, most importantly. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Gregory Mevs. Share this episode because it's going to change your life. Welcome, Gregory.
Thank you very much, for having me in your show. You're a very distinguished producer of this quality podcast, and I think I see the love that you put into it, you and your team. And there's a Caribbean aspect to it that made me come on board this morning. It's your love for the Caribbean and your love for people. So thank you very much for having me. It's a great honor.
Thank you. Yes, the Soul Center podcast, it was born out of a need to share our stories. And by our, I mean the African, Caribbean, Latin diaspora, those regions and the diasporas. And I cannot think of a more fitting person to just have a discussion, a discourse about our culture in these communities than you. And we were introduced by a mutual friend, Michael, who is just lovely. And he went on and on about you forever. He was saying, you have to meet him. You have to meet Gregory. You have to meet Gregory. And sure enough, when we connected, my heart was just so full because you have accomplished so many things. You have all of these titles and these accolades, and you've amassed this wealth, and you've gone to the pinnacle. But that's not what the most impressive thing to me is. The most impressive thing is your heart and the quality of person that you are. I was absolutely blown away by your spirit and how you connect to humanity and how you care and how you show up in the world. So thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being open to this conversation and for giving this podcast a chance, for using this platform to amplify voices, and especially the Caribbean. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is mine. It's an honor. So I'm ready.
Okay.
There's so much can be said, and I would rather have you ask me the questions that you'd like me to answer, and we'll go on from there.
Let's do it. We're going to dive deep. This is not a shallow swim. So I want to start, for context, at your origin story. What is the earliest memory that you have that has shaped who you are today?
I've got two colliding memories. One is I was born in a country where we had a very very strong dictatorship at the time, which was in the 60s in Haiti, was Duvalier. And fear, I remember when there were attempted coup against the regime then. There were nights where even the dog were hollowing and they were screaming out of fear. Wow. Fear was everywhere. So I would go and hide. I remember specifically at my grandmother's house because my parents were in Europe. And I would hide behind the bed, below the bed, and out of fear. And at the same time, I would wake up in the middle of the night, run to my grandmother's bedroom, which was totally pink. I remember it was as pink as your lips, exactly,
Wow.
where everything was pink. It was a pink world, and it was a huge bedroom. And more like anybody, I would run to her pink enclave and go into her bed, and it was strange that you asked me this question. I never thought of it before, but it goes to say that when you are, most people in the world take for granted personal liberty and the progress that the last 100 or 200 years we've made in this world, and the progress we've made in this hemisphere in establishing freedom and democracy, and the fact that we don't appreciate it, we abuse it, and sometimes we don't know what to do with it, and we make mistakes. We make so much mistakes, but because we forget our important individual freedom of expression, individual freedom of the person, and is about the is essential for identity.
Yes.
And without identity, we're nothing. So a sense of identity can be shaped by many things also. So this is I know I start with a negative feeling, which is fear, but that fear has led me to believe in from a very early age on the importance of individualism, on the importance of individuality. And why is individuality important? Because individuality is a space of creativity, and it's also the foundation of identity. And why is identity important? Identity is a sense of belonging to a community. So, in as much as individuality exists, it cannot exist without a strong sense of community and a strong sense of obligation to community, whether it's in business or any other field of endeavor, or what you're doing today. We're all part of a community. We're all individuals. We all have our field of what I call the quantum field, what they call the quantum field, that space where we belong, in which our collective memory, our individual memory, and our interaction with the universe is all our interaction with the universe meet. And we have to take that space. We have to take that identity. We have to take that individuality, and we have to take our community to build and to create and to make a statement and to have lived a life where we have contributed to something better. And in my life as a business, first of all, I'm an entrepreneur, and my life as an entrepreneur was always to create, and it's also a tradition of my family. And we've been in industry for many generations in my family, for 4. In Haiti, it was always to innovate, create, and solve a societal problem or solve a problem. Business cannot exist if it doesn't solve a problem. Business are not monopolies that you have in order to make money. Business is not a situation where you build something to make money. It's never about money. It's about solving somebody else's problem. So he wants to give you in exchange what he can for what you are doing into either improving his life or helping him survive, which is the other opposite, because we are all programmed to survive. Every cell we have talks to every cell we have, and we're all tied, related. I think we have 45 million cells in every human body. Each one of this cell came from an egg that produced us, and in a spermatozoid, which I'm sorry for my bad pronunciation of English, and it's created it. They're all connected and they have the same knowledge, and that knowledge is into a tree of knowledge because we're a species, which is Homo sapiens. And Homo sapiens are not alone in this planet. We are part of others. We're tied to other mammalian. And from this planet and this world, we're connected to this universe, which is full of signals, full of noise, full of communication. We have to be aware, and we have to kind of arbitrarily choose, and that's the most difficult thing to do in life, who we want to be, and who we want to is what we want to give, and what we want to give is also what we want to receive. And it's, you can make it beautiful, like, because today is the Valentine Day, we can say it's about love.
Yes.
So yeah, we have to give love, we have to receive love. And people say entrepreneurship or business as purely transactional in the sense that it only relates to an exchange of procedures or goods or time in order to achieve each person's cold or desperate move for survival. I think I don't agree with that. I think it's, life is more holistic. Love is everywhere. We are love, and love is not in our physical space. It's not in a cell. I think we live in physics today between quantum physics and classical physics, which is more Newtonian and Einsteinian versus Max Planck and the others. I think us being human, is a perfect synthesis. We coexist between quantum and classical physics, and I think we are the synthesis, and that's why field theory is important. We are the field as human beings, and we can make wonders because physics has not been able to explain the contradiction between quantum and classical physics. Up to now, gravity is a mystery for physicists. They can't. The theory of everything has solved everything except that once you plug in gravity, it collapses. It doesn't explain the world anymore. And I think it's because scientists are looking at proofs, and they're looking at things, and they're not looking at this body of awareness. Actually, they're not looking at this body of awareness that is love. Love is a body of awareness, and and that awareness is a responsibility. It's a joy. It's a pleasure. It's a pain. But that what makes us a little bit maybe different than other species. We have a more awareness, and we're able to mix together the notion of multiplicity and simplicity, and at the same time, we are our own field. We create our own emotions. We project them, and we project them not from inside there somewhere, and it's connected somewhere in the universe. I'm sorry to be doing physics right now. I never thought I would get there.
No.
Yes.
Please don't apologize. This is great. And I have some questions about it because I'd like to distill this and to really break it down. We're talking about the quantum field.
Yes.
Would you say then that the formula for abundance is the resonance of love, being present and responding to a need, and therefore attracting what you are vibrating? If that makes sense?
That is part of it, but there's also the photons, the light. Resonance, light, movement. It's all, and at the minute that you try to pinpoint it, you stop it. The biggest thing is what's the name? Schrodinger's. There's a famous law which is Schrodinger's cat law, which is, when you have a box, you have a cat. The cat is both the cat. Once you open, the cat is both alive and it's dead. It could be both At the minute that you open the box, you decide where you make the death happen, or you make it happen. So it's a very complicated, complex concept. But basically, we have as more than even human beings, we as particles, and really not particles, because particles come from the field, our field of action, our field of awareness. Awareness is everything, and awareness makes this universe turn. And awareness is energy. Energy is awareness, and energy brings awareness. But energy alone, without this body of love that we have stored inside us, which is program, or I don't know if it's not, which is part of what we have, uh, doesn't run. I think energy runs from love, or from hatred, which is another form of love. And yes, we kept we resource we kind of captured this energy from the world, from resonance, from the lights, from the photons, from whatever. But we have our own field. We make it into our own world, and we make it and express it from who we are and what we've become, or what we have decided to become. And that's why being a human being is a wonderful thing. And that's why we have all powers to do great things. We just underestimate ourselves. But each one of us has a field,
Yes.
and each one of us can do fantastic stuff, and we're very powerful as a species. What's important today is that we realize that we are, because otherwise we'll be thinking that quantum, AI, all these billionaires are telling us about AI, or telling us about quantum computers that goes, instead of taking the biggest computer in the world does 47 hours to figure out a problem, that the new Google computer takes less than 3 milliseconds to figure out a complex problem. But mathematics is not life. Computing and bringing everything into 1 0, or which is classical Newtonian physics, 1 0, or if we go the Max Planck way, which was at the same time 1 and 0 at all time, and once we try to and we can both exist. The 1 0 is great for big macro big things, explains the world perfectly. The micro world, which is quantum, one and 0 coexist. And there are two sets of rules that don't exist at the same time. And I think us as humans are able, and science has not solved this problem. And even though we're going to AI and all these things, we have not solved yet this problem, to reconcile the laws of the infinitely small with the laws of the infinitely great. But once you bring it into the human field of awareness, the laws of the infinitely small overrides the laws of the infinitely great. And this is so fantastic to think about it that way. So that's the lesson, to be the practical lesson of it, that because I'm not a physicist, but a practical lesson to that really is that we have huge power over this universe, and we have huge power over controlling its energy and changing our life and lives of others.
So, where you are is where many seek to be. You have a very clear sense of universal principles. You are very aware and present and conscious. I wonder, unconsciously, did you have this innate understanding as a young boy, especially living and in an environment that was hostile? And you talk about the resonance of love. Was that something, love and joy, was that something that was easily accessible to you being in that environment? And in expressing that, can you share some stories and your journey. I know we had a chat and you were telling me about walking around in the community and what they called you, and just how did you connect with people, and how did you, young Gregory, connect to the world and the universe at that time?
Well, it's first of all, I have to pay credit to the people of the Caribbean. The people of the Caribbean are warm people. They're good people. All my life, I've been surrounded by very warm, lovely people, and that has been my blessing. And it has to do with especially the women of the Caribbean. And is it ancestral knowledge? What is it? As I don't know. Is it because it's islands? Is it because we come from basically matriarchal network or patchwork? We can simplify it and we can have theories, but the truth is, the Caribbean is made out of people that came from slavery, but people that came from slavery didn't come from one culture. In my country, Haiti, it was, I read somewhere, a professor wrote a thesis, a paper, sociology. Actually, it's an ethnographic study. He found 122 races, people talking 122 different languages with 122 religions that were put under, that was brought in as slaves and brought into a country. And they had to create themselves and invent themselves. So they were treated with violence. They were treated as economic. They didn't have a soul until for the longest time. I mean, it took the Catholic Church that they had a soul, and that took Las Casas in I believe, and I forgot the date, to say the black people from Africa had the soul. And the black people from Africa, I mean, I always laugh and says, what does that mean? An Ethiopian in Ethiopian is not a Zambian, and a Zambian is not a Mauritanian, and Mauritanian is not an Egyptian, and an Egyptian is not a Bantu from Nigeria. We are a very diverse group of people that ended up in a migratory process, this part of the world, which is one of the most beautiful and wonderful part of the world, which is the Caribbean space. And not unlike the Mediterranean, each of those islands have a great history. So I think I kind of missed your question. And I go back to the question. Yes, I was surrounded by a lot of wonderful people with a lot of dignity that wanted love and that wanted to give love and that wanted to receive it. And that's how I started my life. I must say that it didn't come to me naturally. Took trials and errors, and it took me to see travel a lot. Uh, One of my thing was to travel around the Caribbean because I had my family was split over Jamaica, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Haiti, because of those tough years in Haiti. The political environment brought many members of my family to take exile. And they started, I can say that my family almost started the duty free business in the Caribbean, because at the time when they left Haiti, Haiti was the number one tourism destination for cruise ships and duty free. And we brought this knowledge. And all my childhood, I would go from uncle to other uncles, to our grandmother, Jamaica, walk in the streets of Kingston, understand Bob Marley, and listen to his music, and meeting with the Rastafarians, and understanding that we are one Caribbean. I also traveled extensively in Europe, but I felt at home everywhere, whether it was with the Boyquin, which were the Puerto Ricans, the Virgin Islands, and later on discovering the Bahamas, and which is your part of the world, and Turks and Caicos, which is a wonderful island with wonderful people. And this warmth is incredible. And yes, we have developed our own identity, each one of these islands. And we've also smart enough to absorb what the French gave us, the English gave us, all these people gave us. We also, I think, a little bit too close on ourselves. And we need to, in this very, very, very difficult time, we need to make the Caribbean a more a geopolitical space. We need to make it a more of an economic space. You have 43 million people living in the Caribbean, but you take Haiti, Cuba, and Dominican Republic, you have a lot of small population. Take out Jamaica also, which is close to 3 million people. But if you put them all together, you have a market of 43 million people. And we have to find a way to bring that market, and even if it's for cultural goods, and to become a force. And we underestimate ourselves because for too long we've been too small, too little, and too reliant. I think the world is going through a crisis. I think the world is changing profoundly with technology. The world is changing profoundly in geopolitics. But I think we have to make a Caribbean that doesn't bring in a population that's large enough. It doesn't create an economic space that's big enough to warrant a lot of other things that could make us all better and stronger. From childhood on, I always felt kind of special because I have to tell you, I used to read a lot, and I've always been very curious, and I was always a little bit a square peg in a round hole when it came to the schoolyard and the classroom. A little bit more curious, a little bit more advanced, a little bit more. So my social interaction was at two levels. The one that I projected in order to relate with my fellow friends and classmates, and who I was, which was another dimension. But always felt that I always enjoyed older people, and people that were older than my age, and even old people. I enjoy spending more time with them than I would enjoy spending with another 12-year-old or 7-year-old or 15-year-old for that matter. So I've learned from other people. So I I was born in a very difficult, I won't make a secret that Haiti is in a huge crisis. I come from a difficult society, one with a glorious history, but one that has not found proper equilibrium, its proper equilibrium and space, and in today's world, and that has not found the proper form of government. My theory, balance and stability, and it's all it's based on history. It's based on the fact that it's today very economically precarious. But I think also people underestimate how varied and how rich the culture is. I remember I had a very good friend one day who was editor for the Newsweek for Latin America. And he told me the two most fascinating and difficult places for him to cover was Haiti and Cuba. And I asked him why. He said, because they are too interesting, they have too much personality, and they have too much history. So in this case, reconciling who we were and who we are and what we need to be in today's world is very important. And that's where love is important, because we all have to grow together. And we can only teach. I mean, if slavery and using force and strength and manipulation was a viable system, we still would have slavery in the world. So you have to. It has to be a fair deal for everyone, and that's what we try to do companies that we built. In the way we built, we've gone, we've done. One time we had 16,000 people. At 25, I was CEO of a company with 16,000 people. And then there was coups in Haiti. And at the time, we manufactured, for instance, 82% of all the baseballs in the world came from my family's factory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we would ship to the United States Perry topsiders. I don't know if you know boat shoes. They're very famous. We used to
Yes.
1,000 pairs every day to the United States. Nursemaids, which all the nurses, whether they are Bahamian or Jamaican or used in the United States in the hospitals, we used to shoot 15,000 a day. We used to make toothpaste. We used to make the detergent. We used to ship all over the world. We manufactured everything because my father and my family believed that in order to assert a Caribbean identity, there was no reason why Caribbeans could not be industrialists. There was the view of the island should be, only tourism and light stuff, and we developed patents and we rubber mills and we had sugar mills and we had alcohol and today we have a much simplified business. It's mostly petroleum and petroleum storage, port services, mostly infrastructure, financial services. But there's something in common in everything we do. Has to be useful to society. Creating jobs is fantastic for a country poor like Haiti, but it also has to innovate, make people's life better. But it has to be also something that makes the world better. And right now, all our countries are under siege. And I say our countries in the Caribbean, but I would also include in the Caribbean coast countries like from Latin America, like Colombia or Ecuador, that have Afro presence and that have Latin presence. Because in the Caribbean, maybe not in the English Caribbean, but somewhat English Caribbean, we're Afro-Latin, we're Afro-Latin, and we do have uh, a big touch of Amero-Indian into us. I mean, the Tainos, the Arawaks came from the Orinoco river, and all of this got together, mixed into different people. In Puerto Rico, they found out that 16% of the blood when they did the ADN test were still Tainos, and so we're a mixture. We're a mixture in in a very diverse environment, which because of the islands, we are the Mediterranean, and our cultures are similar, but they will evolve, and makes it very interesting. Now, what we have to do is to bring it together into a more powerful and a more dynamic area. Like Europe is a more powerful and dynamic area, and countries that matter and regions that matter need to have population weight, economic weight, and education and everything. India is becoming a major power, but Southeast Asia, just sheer population, is a major power. The Caribbean is most of our population in an aging world is in the 20s, below the 20s, or below the 30s. Young people, well, most of them well educated, and we have some countries like Haiti, and eventually one day Cuba would be a little bit more integrated into mainstream, and we have all that workforce that is willing to work, and this diversity and this beauty, we need to bring it together. We need to bring it by better infrastructure, by better communication, by better understanding of one another, and also by being making a difference, because I believe the Caribbean is the place of love. Love is very, very strong in our culture. But we're on the siege. We're on the siege from the cartels, from the south, from the drugs, from things, from abject poverty in certain countries that are turning wonderful people and making them desperate. We need to bring back prosperity. We need to bring back order in society. We need mothers to be mothers, not mothers out of wedlock. We need to stop the rape. We need to give dignity. We need to have a flow. We need to gain what our ancestral and innate values are. We need to bring them out and say no violence on our young girls, no violence.
Yes.
Or let's build the youth. We need to bring a better world by better governance. But I don't believe individually we will succeed. I think collectively we have to do it, because we're looking at continents, and we are looking at phenomena that are coming from continents. And the Caribbean has always been the passageway between South America and North America. We're a logistics corridor, all of us, for things that have nothing to do with us, but that have a residual effect on the destruction of the moral compass and of our youth. And somehow we need to find a way to band together and exist, and have the strength to resist all these problems and solve them together.
Yeah. And you are the co-chair of the West Indies Company.
Yes.
What is the West Indies Company, and what role do you think it plays in shaping, contributing to the development of Haiti and, by extension, the Caribbean?
Well, first of all, it's the West Indies group, but it's all right. There happens that when I go to conference, I find a few West Indies company and names, West Indies, this and that. But anyway, so we're the West Indies group. We have evolved around the ages and around different generation to become what we are today. Today, we're mostly involved in infrastructure building in order to allow countries to evolve. And being in the port business, it's one of the business we do. We logistics and ports. We make sure that goods move freely into the region. We're also very concerned about energy, and we energy, whether it's petroleum, carbon based, and or solar or propane, which is a transition gas. We try to make it better, and we try to give people the ability to move, to create power, to create energy. Without energy, there is no progress, and without energy, there is no life in this universe. Everything is energy, and mastering energy, servicing energy. So we do more than 70% of the storage of energy. We distribute different petroleum products. We've done that for years, and we've kept those businesses. We had to close a lot of other businesses in Haiti because of political instability. We also are in the financial service, trying to we're partnered with 50 credit unions with 1.5 million bank accounts, trying to give them modern service so we can help them build a middle class. We can help Haiti build middle class. Without a middle class, Haiti will go nowhere. So we look for, I would say that last 2-3 years has proven that we've kept, in spite of the gangs in Haiti, in spite of everything that's going on, we've kept our port running. We kept the faucet of diesel, gasoline, whatever in the country, no matter what, going. so people could go on and have the mobility, because mobility is freedom. Mobility is essential. And we as a human species, Homo sapiens, we are we're mobile. We only settled in Sumeria or Turkey. There are two different. Today's Turkey. There's two different pieces to become agricultural societies. Only 10,000 years ago, 250,000 years ago, we were herds that were moving from one place to another, and we keep on moving. And we've got them again. We have to make sure there's energy so people can keep moving, because only to moving will we have progress, and only to moving and commerce and technology that helps commerce right now. Phones that you can charge, you need electricity, that people can have more fulfilling lives and can be part of the one world and one Caribbean. So it's all tied together. But we see ourselves as enablers. So we build quality services and quality infrastructure for the masses, and for the emergence of a middle class. We have been in the past. We had factories and we bought technology in Jamaica. We sold it. We had operations in other islands. We worked in different places, but I have Haitian genes, so I'm very tied to it. But we're not only limited to that space. We do have we set up a company recently to do renewable energy in Central and America and North America, and we do a lot of projects there. So those are solutions that we have to bring, and we try to bring solutions to problems, may they be whatever they are, to make life better. And a business, since we're talking about entrepreneurship, the only justification of business has to be the good and the solution that it provides. Otherwise, there's no reason to have an extra margin. And a lot of business don't evolve, and they become sick. They become monopolies, especially in the islands. They have not evolved. They have not brought in new technology, and all they have to do is to play politics and make sure that the prices are fixed, or they get monopolies on small islands. Consumers pay higher prices, or they hide behind the tariffs. And all tariffs are very much in fashion, but tariff is a drug. It can destroy, because people get lazy behind them. Entrepreneurs get lazy behind tariffs. That's a rent, and consumer pay more money. So it's
Yes.
You got to keep on moving there. You have also to always look for the new solution, the new technology, and you never have to forget that you're there to make your customer, your client's life better. And it has to be all about them.
So, what would you say is needed to bring the Caribbean and the diaspora into the future in terms of operations and business?
Well, the thing is, I think in our Caribbean, we have Spanish speakers, we have Dutch speakers, we have English speakers, and we have French speakers. Somehow, language is a barrier, and we need to get through this barrier. With AI, we can solve it very fast. Two is migration in the Caribbean is very sensitive. A lot of the through CARICOM, we're supposed to have, let's say, 81 single. We're members of CARICOM, but we're not one single market. And if you take 12 million consumers and you don't use it, and when I go to other places like Barbados or the Bahamas, or I see too much money in the banks, they don't know what to do with it. And I go to Haiti, where 12 million consumers, and that could produce or consume some of the financial services, and it's not integrated. We haven't had. The CARICOM is more a customs union, which is a wrong thing to be with high tariff. It is a so-called political organization, but you have made out of ghettos. You have the English-speaking ghetto, you have the Spanish-speaking ghetto, you have the Dutch-speaking ghetto, and the French-speaking ghetto. We don't have a unified way of saying this is what we want to do and what we are. And also we underestimate how important an alliance with the Latin America is, and how important it is, because they do have the landmass sometimes and things we need. So basically, we need a brand new economic plan for the region. We need the components to come in, and even if you take the French Caribbean, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Guyana, they have everything in terms of resources. Guyana, French Guyana, I'm talking about English Guyana, British Guyana, I'm sorry. So-called British Guyana, because Guyana is Guyana. They have Martinique and Guadeloupe. They have very educated people. They have the money. They have everything. But they don't have the market. The market is Haitian. They're French speaking. And it's a natural market, but it's not happening. They could use a Haitian labor force in our access, and then we should merge it. Each one of our islands should be determined in a big plan, and there should be men of vision. There has been in the past men of vision. But in a vision into one, like ASEAN as an economic vision, Mercosur as an economic vision, the Central American market as a vision. And up to recently, NAFTA was the most successful bloc, the European Union. We need to bend, we need to create this economic space, and each one of us need to feel what they have to do. It's not about barriers. It's, we're paralyzed by two things: the fear of tariff, the fear of destroying things by putting high tariff, and we also and also the fear of immigration. And immigration will happen nonetheless. You take the Dominican Republic, you got about 2 million Haitians working. They keep deporting a few of them, thousands of them. People say between 1 or 2 million, I don't know. But if you remove them from agriculture and construction and tourism, you don't have a Dominican Republic, because 76% of the people in tourism are Haitian, 89% of the people in agriculture are Haitian, and 94% of the people in construction are Haitians. So they're needed because they'll do work other people don't want to do. Not because they're better, not because they're worse, because a country like the DR that has been having 5% of growth for the last 30 years, most people are turning into middle class. In the next 10, 20 years, it will be, it will be considered a very emerging country, and a rich country. So we need to find the space in your own country, the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos. You got all the Haitians. They're a strong community. They're very religious, but they do basic services. Of course, it can be, each country have to decide what kind of people they need, what kind of immigration they want to do, who they want to choose, and how many. And that's absolutely healthy. But somehow in the Caribbean, we need to look at the whole as a productive force, as a positive force. How is the Caribbean going to make a positive impact on the Americas and the world? It's by bending all these islands into one economic force, and you have enough resources in the Caribbean, whether it's energy. I'm talking about Trinidad, Guyana, Suriname today, or financial markets. About Kingston, or strong tradition with the rule of law and experience in tourism like the Bahamas, and you have all of that. Together, we need to be strong. everybody has to transit to Miami to go and see everybody else. Makes no sense. I mean, the hub is Miami. I have to go
It
to
doesn't.
Miami. Makes no sense. We should be able to have policies that bring us together. And thank God there are technologies today, and we can be here and talk. I'm sorry, I may make it too long, but I'm a very passionate man.
And now we take a moment to hear from our sponsors. Today's sponsor of this episode is rowenasutherland.com. This is a community that I am very proud of. It is a space where you can receive practical guidance and wisdom. You will get insights into various meditations and exercise practices, and of course, my favorite, recipes for teas. Herbal teas is something that is very central to my life. I recently became an herbalist, and I've discovered the connections to plants to be life-changing. I think that nature has so much wisdom that we can pull from and can change the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we operate in our everyday lives. It has transformed me, and I hope it would have an impact in your life. So if these are things that align with you and your interests, then hop on over to rowenasutherland.com and join the community. I love that passion. And, the Caribbean has such rich culture. And I think we need to diversify our markets and be producers, more of producers. So in the Bahamas, we recently had Junkanoo inscribed at UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage asset. And there's much discussion about monetization of this market and true development of the creative economy. What would you say is Haiti's intangibles or cultural assets or tangible assets that can be monetized, that can create economy?
Well, I will, in terms of cultural assets, it is not a secret that the artistic production of Haiti, whether in good times or bad times, is impressive. Whether it's handicrafts, whether it's paintings, whether it's writing, where it's amazing the amount of Haitians that get published around the world, and even in France that are members of the French Academy that are well known, and it's amazing that an island with all these difficulties have created so many bright cultural and products or people. What Haiti needs right now is stability, and we need more. We need to get back to a normal life and stability. But what Haiti has to offer, besides copper, gold, and some natural resources and rare earth, we are plenty of, is huge labor pool that is very disciplined, willing to work, and that can be the more like a tiger, like an Asian tiger in nearshoring, and in so doing, using financial services, auditors and other from other islands, and all the skills and all the complementary skills that each of the island has to offer. And the Bahamas has a lot of very skilled professionals on the banking system. You need finance industry, and you need to the logistics of your port in Freeport is important. Has to be tied with our ports. We need to have ferries going back and forth. We need to produce food for you in greenhouses. We need to help you, and get the labor. And you need to bring more tourists. And we need to make them, we just need to look at it. Just look at Indonesia. Is one country with almost as many islands as the Caribbean. Really, a Caribbean on one country. Each island does something for the other island. I'm not saying that we be one country, but we can help one another. I think we need to open up the universities for every Caribbean. The University of West Indies is a great effort, but basically we should have a zero cost schooling and mostly university or technical college. So we have more exchange and more interconnection. We need to build our university system so they talk to one. We need to talk to one another and discover who we are. We don't need to do it through the eyes of London, Miami, or Paris. We need to look at one another and accept one another. Accept that we're different, but accept that we're similar. Accept that we're poor, but also accept that we're rich. Accept that we are weak, but also accept that we are strong. Because strength is not how many guns I have, and strength is how many billions of dollars sitting in my central bank. Strength is, again, human solidarity and complementary economies to go further in this world. And I think that Europe offers us the global open gateway, which is a great opening for us in the Caribbean. We haven't taken advantage of it. America is trying to find a way with nearshoring, to come with a new Caribbean basin initiative. We need to help them, but we haven't formulated what we need. We have to formulate what we need, the region, and negotiate it. Nobody's going to give something away because we deserve it. We need to say, listen, you are getting these things from Vietnam. Vietnam is getting too expensive. It's getting too rich. Let's do it in Haiti. Let's do it in the Bahamas. Let's do it this. And there's a million things we can do together. But that really requires that we work together. The business community needs to work together as one business community. The intellectuals, the university people, need to work more as a one university system. And our head of states need to really sit down and worry less about North and South and global South and global North and global West and global this. I mean, we need to find what is a practical plan that will make us grow 5% a year or 8% a year as a region. And
wow.
And we can do it. We can do it. I'm sure we can do it. But we are so busy looking at Washington, Toronto, Ottawa, or London or Paris, that we don't do it enough. And we should bring it together.
You mentioned just now that with Europe, there are things that we are not taking advantage of. Could you clarify that a bit more, please?
Well, the Chinese have made the Silk Road. The Americans have the nearshoring, and Europe, Mrs. von der Leyen, the president, has come with the Global Open Gateway. Basically, it's about helping countries that are like us in better infrastructure, whether it's digital for the digital economy, or whether it's renewable or being less carbon, or better logistics. In the Caribbean, we need the three of them. We need more solar power. We need more wind power. We need better ports. We need ferries. We need better airports. We need all of that, and that's open, And there's a great nation competition on ports, on all those things. We got to be very smart how we play that. But I think we'll find willing partners to have investors, and we don't have all the money in the world. Let's face it. But we need as much private capital as possible and our own resources. But we need to have a vision, and the vision is because of where the Gulf Stream is, which is the Gulf Stream, for instance, goes in front of Jamaica, in front of Haiti, in front of the Bahamas, into Europe. That makes it the sea route that is obligatory if you leave the Panama Canal. We're not taking enough advantage of that and making sure that not only are we a logistics platform, with a logistics platform history as starters, whether it's London, Venice, or Flanders, or whatever the time was, that they all become financial centers, and they all become the beginning of things. Commerce brings finance. Finance brings industry. Industry brings better people, and I think we all need to do that. Tourism is already giving us huge air traffic. we need more sea traffic. And Bahamas have done a tremendous job with Freeport, but Jamaica has also. But there's the more need. If you take right now, because of the cost of trucking in America and the shortage of drivers in America and the phenomenon of delivery, let's say, of the Walmarts and all that stuff and Amazon, America is short of 12,000 drivers, and it's cheaper to ship through the canal and to our transshipment hubs and bring it to the East Coast than it is for them to truck it from East Coast to West. A truck driver in the United States makes $150,000 a year, and he works 4 days a year, and they're still short of 12,000 truck drivers. So there are a lot of things that we can assess, and we can help one another to be this platform. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't realize that 18% of what comes to our ports, transshipment port, goes to Europe. You were essential for the supply chain. But
wow,
being just a supply chain and not doing the processing, not saying what else can we do, the trade financing, or what, all these things need to be looked at for us to become stronger and richer as a region and helping become richer.
Yes, and I'm originally from Freeport, Grand Bahama. I don't know if you knew that.
Didn't know that.
Yes. So I really love that you brought up the port and the power that we have as the Caribbean, as the sea and the sea routes. And I'm wondering if we had one collective voice at the global table, the Caribbean that is, what should we be demanding? You touched on some things that we need and that we could do. But if we came together as a collective voice at the global table, what is it that the Caribbean is demanding?
I think the Caribbean is demanding two things. One, it's demanding access to market. The Caribbean is not demanding to ship the Caribbeaners to live in Jackson Heights. Caribbean are asking to be able to have functioning economy and to be closely related. They want access to market, and we need a little bit of help to integrate the Caribbean like Asia is integrated as a production and a productive hub. And some countries are doing fantastic, has done the job already in tourism. Tourism has developed tremendously in Caribbean and is getting stronger. I was my understanding that the Dominican group is going to build huge hotels in Freeport and looking at the airport also. So we need to co-invest in one another to make one another stronger and bring the savoir-faire of one country into the other. The one that does good in tourism, which is the Bahamas and Dominican Republic and Jamaica, should help the other ones to be stronger when it comes to tourism. But the ones that are good in logistics should help ferries for the other ones. You know, we need to kind of bring everybody together. But what we are asking, and there's a question, I just get sidetracked. Your question, what are we asking?
Yes. What are we demanding at the table?
We are demanding a fund, a big fund to finance our basic infrastructure. That's what we want. And we would like, we're also demanding, if it's possible, tax credits for our diaspora that wants to invest in our country. We're asking them for the countries that have had this diaspora, but we're also asking for our own country so we can bring back the doctors, we can bring back the nurses, we can bring back all these people to bring and they can
the thought leaders. Yes.
You know, I spend a lot of time in the Dominican Republic, where I'm right now, and I see how many, and this country took off with the Dominican diaspora coming back home and investing and making sure and buying apartments and buying this and coming back to their country to make it bigger. And they have excellent health service here. most of the doctors were working in Roosevelt Hospital in New York or such hospitals, and they all came back to make this country bigger and stronger. So what are we asking? We're asking a super fund for infrastructure that has to be fun to make our region and compensate the fact that we're islands and we're disconnected. We need to connect the points, whether it's in energy, interconnect our energy grids, interconnect our telecommunication grid, interconnect our ferries, our transportation grid, interconnect everything to one Caribbean so the prices are lower. Electricity doesn't have to be 40 cents in a country and 9 cents in another. One can trade with the other. Electricity, the cable are expensive, so it's a little bit more difficult. But a lot of those things can be done. Telecom can become cheaper. Everything can become cheaper through infrastructure. So I would say that would be number one. Number two, I would say, is we need to multiply. We need to help. We need help to create the middle class. Middle class are not created. Are created with education. So we need to interconnect in a digital way and in different ways our educational systems. Whether they are multilingual, we should have protocols, and we should bring up the education of everyone and interconnect them with first world communication, with first world education, university systems. So we can bring up our middle class to that same level as the world, and we have enough of our diaspora around the world to help doing that. There are many other things we can do, and I can't think of them all.
But those are great ones that you've thought of.
In terms of technology, everything is changing. I mean, in my own theory of the world right now, we are in disarray. We are in disarray because of the rate of change of technology reminds me of the 1880s to the 1914, where our inability, especially the governments and the elites, to handle the technological change, because this time there was the train, the first planes, the cable system, the phones, everything came around that time. We made a mess out of it by being so afraid of change that we hired the wrong leader. We put the wrong leaders in power. We had a Tsar of Russia, which was like 100 years old, behind time, and a Kaiser of Germany that was 100 years behind time, and we made a fine mess. I would like us to avoid that mess. So a big technological center to R&D and for the Caribbean is important, that we progress and we get all the technology from everywhere and we adapt it to our specific conditions and we teach it and we give the tax credits and we make it Caribbean wide, because the economies may be too small. And third is find a way to integrate the big islands, the Dominican Republic with 12 million people, Haiti with 12 million people. Hopefully Cuba will come one day with that 12 million people. When you have 40 million people economy, everything changes. The doctors, everybody becomes better. And that's a possible thing. The recent development in the petroleum field in Guyana and Suriname also are very important. And how can we integrate into this new wealth, and how can we help them get better, because they have all kind of needs. And last but not least, we need to control the sea lanes and the air lanes. So we have to fight crime. Transnational crime is the enemy. It's a cancer. It's destroying every society, and it's destroying our youth. Drugs is destroying our youth. We need to stop that. I mean, they can go and choose other ways, other places to carry their stuff, but stop destroying our islands. And what happened is those international organizations take over. They take over one island after the other. They take the political life. They corrupt the youth, and then you start having raped girls and societal dramas of Um, in my country, Cité Soleil, which is known to be uh, one of the tough neighborhood and one of the greatest neighborhood of them all, a lot of good people there. But 27% of the 27% of the girls were raped and by incest, and had the kids through incest before the age of 15. We that's all because of the influence of the drugs and all that stuff coming in and the gangs, and this is the plague not only of Caribbean. This is a plague of Central Latin America. We got to stop that, and we can only do that together. We need to have a defense force, maybe, or I'm giving crazy ideas, or work with to make sure that we stop this flow of stuff that is destroying. We're passage, but in the meanwhile, it's corrupting our societies. So we got to do something about it.
Wow. I mean, I have so many questions to ask, and I know we have a limited amount of time, but that alone took me down a rabbit hole because there are so many avenues to explore in terms of violence and crime across the Caribbean and the diaspora. But we're here in the Caribbean and we're discussing that. In Haiti, in Dominican Republic, they have such large populations. In the Bahamas, we have a very small population, and so I think there's been a challenge in the smaller nations and how we police and how we police the crime. Do you have any thoughts surrounding that? I know that there was a point in time where, for example, Turks and Caicos, we would have their police and we would do like a police exchange. And so you don't have Timmy's uncle's sister coming and when she's in trouble, I'm going to get her out because I know her because that's my neighbor. You know what I'm saying? So how do we navigate that?
Well, first of all, we have a big problem on the reverse side. Deportees. Get all these Caribbean islands, all our Caribbean islands. We get people from the jails of other countries being dumped on us, and we don't know how to. A lot of them are Bahamian born or Barbadian born or whatever born. They never spent more than a year in their country. And most of the time, they don't even have family. That's the case in Haiti. Gangs, most of those gangs, they don't even have families, and they are more Americans than anything else, or whatever country they were in. So they're dumped there, and they bring the violence because they don't have a choice either. So how do we institutionally reintegrate these people in society that they're dumping on us? We can't fight the dumping them on us because we don't have the strength to do it. But what do we do with them? How do we deal with them? That's one very, very basic question that we're all facing. Now, in terms of police force, technology is important. I think we can do a lot more with technology. But at the end of the day, poverty is what we're facing because what the kind of violence we have in crime in the Caribbean comes from the very, very poor neighborhood. We need to spend more time in those neighborhoods. We need to spend more time helping the young pregnant women educate their kids. Like in Brazil, if you're young and pregnant below 18, the state they try to give you a job or they try to give you some money every month to raise your kid. You have a central in every slum they have. I'm talking about Rio. In I've seen the experiment. They have daycare for the girls and they teach them something. The young boys, the young that don't have jobs or don't have family anymore, the divorces or family breakdown, they are reinserted in society. But it all works based on one thing. There's a police force that's there, and they have a system of transportation that doesn't allow the gangs to stop people coming in and out of the neighborhood. So, the phenomenon of the neighborhood is like the feudal time. You had the Lord and you had salt. People could not come in and out if they didn't pay something to come out in and out. And the marquis or the baron, he could get any girl he wanted because he was the baron. This is the same thing going on. It's as old as human beings' behavior. So we need to have those Caribbean-wide, learn from one another, learn from. There are two countries that come in mind that have done fantastic in improving the conditions in the slums and re-educating. One is Colombia. Medellin is extraordinary. They have one fare for all public transportation. They have telepheric system. They have the police station. They have Rio is another extraordinary city. They have cameras everywhere. Everybody is on the camera. It's a bit intrusive, but at every single time, there is an adequation of violence and how fast the buses turn, how fast the public transportation and how well it works. Because the people move very fast, they're less attacked, and they get economic freedom, and they make their own money, and everything goes better. So the traditional ways are good, but the traditional ways is we need to build around the churches. We need to about the leaders, natural leaders. We need to build around the schools, but we need to give the social programs, especially for the youngs, and basically we need to give them jobs. And we need to give them freedom of movement, jobs, and dignity. And we got to stop this purpose, and we have to stop this. We really have to be very severe on on raped inside families. Which is a curse every Latin America, Central America, and whatever, because people live in slums, they live in promiscuity. So the young women get abused, and even the young men get abused. We got to close this thing, and it's easier said than, but it requires a very systematic understanding of each neighborhood, how many people, know the people, try to assist them, and let them be in their themselves, have their identity, and be in their field of awareness. Let's go back to the field of awareness.
Yes.
The problem
I was just about to say we are in resonance because these things have to be done away with. These systems need to be broken down. So I agree with you.
So we give them a chance to become everything that they were born to be. Remember, there's a quote from Saint Augustine, the famous philosopher and Catholic icon. He said, "May God give me the strength to become everything that I am." We would like them to become everything that they are, because being a human being is a wonderful thing. It's a great potential.
Yes.
And what you do, good or bad, is amazing. We want them to do the stuff. And yes, we can do it through the church and whatever, community feeling, but we have to have policies to, as a whole, at the Caribbean, to defend ourselves against crime, against destruction of our people. We also have to cope with the people that are sending back to us, that spend their time in U.S. jails or Canadian jails, or I don't know what kind of jail. I mean, I'm not pointing any countries specifically. We also need to help the young girls that get the rape, and we need to give them jobs, and we need to create opportunities. The labor force, there are more populous countries than others. There are countries that have already specialized, like Bermuda, Barbados, in financial, and Bahamas and Turks in financial services. They're the best in the world. We need those banks in countries like Haiti or others to come in. I mean, I already seen we need to each one of us need to bring the best that they have corporate wise, and to make one big market of 47 million strong, rich people like the Mediterranean today, Malta, Cypriot, Italy, and all this. This is all doable. We can do it. We have the diversity of people. We have the education.
Yes.
Easier for us because we 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 have so many of such a big diaspora. We have we have the infrastructure. What is lacking today is the ambition and the leadership, and the fact that everybody, that different competing nations are trying to bring us into our folds. We should have our own fold, and we should have our own program, and we should want to do what is good for all of us. And we have our identity, and our identity is we're from the Caribbean, and our identity is we're Afro, Amero, Indian, Black people. We're not Africans lost in the islands in the stream. Okay, we we are a civilization that was born of pain and pain. We're a civilization that is strong and resilient, and we can do things.
And how do we create leaders for our region, for our diaspora?
I think the leaders are there. Okay, I think that our government systems, our banking systems, our societies are not designed to give them opportunities. I'm talking not only political leaders, I'm talking about all kind of leaders. We need to have a culture. We need to change our culture. Our banks only lend to the rich. They don't lend to the poor. Our political system, only the very, very old get to the top because you have to be 20 years doing the same thing. I'm talking about the two-party system of parliamentarian system. I don't know. I think we have to empower them, and technology can empower them. We need more. Each of our countries should create a technological centers, incubators, to create and foster creativity for the young engineering.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Definitely, we should do that. We should. That's one thing we can do. Two is we could have leadership schools. I think at CARICOM level, we should have leadership schools. University of West Indies is the university, but they don't have a John Kennedy School of Government. We need to have a center of excellence about governance for the Caribbean as a whole, and people can share their experience. We can train them so they can go back. Okay, we can send them to Oxford, but Oxford is not part of Spain. So, and we need to better educate them. At the level of local governance, I don't see any country with really good school to teach people how to be good mayors, and when we're not training our people to be good community activists, leadership is there, is all over, it's being wasted, and a lot of the people that are in criminality usually are the brightest people. It's because a lot of them they didn't get a chance to become better. Okay, and they were not brought up. We need to surround them. We need to make them. But more than anything, we need to do what you're doing, creating awareness. Awareness that we're going to have to do those things because we cannot continue to rely on Paris, London, and Washington, and wherever we have or Schiphol, or because where we came from, because they have problems of their own that they can't even solve at this point, and they're submerged by other immigrants. We need to create our own center of excellence. We need to get together and do that. Maybe CARIFORUM is the way to do it. Maybe we should do something differently. Definitely, I think we need to create an inter-country agency, maybe with Central America, that helps in fighting organized crime, transnational organized crime. I think we should federate. So because it's becoming they become so rich and so powerful, the countries no longer fight them. So if we bring, the different countries and we create one big organization like OAS or like one of those organizations we have, and we specialize in that, and we bring solidarity with one another, we will solve the problem. There's no problem in the world that cannot be solved.
That cannot be solved. You are so right. And there are so many great leaders who have emerged from the Caribbean, like the late Dr. Miles Monroe. He founded the Tuala International Third World Leaders Association in 1987. He saw that vision and that need in 1987, and that was rooted in spiritual, academic, and political leadership. And I agree with you. We need more of that.
Yep.
So
maybe we build around the University of West Indies, because that has been a success. University of West Indies is a success. It needs to do more to be more present. It's only acting in English-speaking countries, but maybe we need to do that. I don't know what we need to do. Well,
but we need to come to the table to discuss what we need to do, because we need to do it together.
Exactly, because we're not going to be able to fight it used to be, okay. When I was in college in my 80s, I remember we used to have the Contras, we used to have Farabundo Marti, we used to have guerrilla in Latin America. We're in the same mess as we are today in Latin America. Ecuador is in a mess, and most countries have problems. But it was ideological. Today what we have is criminally driven chaos. And we, at the time, because it was ideological, we could count on the Americans or the West come and help us fight or whatever. Or there was a fight, it was ideological. Today there's no ideology. It's all about money. It's about crime. So if we don't get together to solve our problem, and we all have that problem, it's not about the country. Haiti is being poor. Haiti is the future of all our islands when it comes to crime, gangs, and disconstruction. Okay, it could be, okay, because it's been going on too long. It has not been fought, and you can corrupt the society by giving kids guns and by giving them drugs. And right now in Haiti, you have 10,000 people with guns and drugs. People say it came from the U.S. or it came from this and came from that. No, it was given and it's fed by crime, and crime is why. It's not the Haitians that are consuming the drugs. It's just a passage. And one of our islands is used for some other as a passageway. So we need to get together and create a regional force which have legitimacy with our friend from the United States, our friends from Europe, and really, really tackle this problem and save our neighborhood, save our youth, and bring back. And we need also to become the Asia model, more like the Asia, dragon economies that are performing services and are very efficient. We need to be, for me, the Bahamas is almost the Singapore of the Caribbean, but almost 90% there. What can we do to bring the other 10%?
To take it over the top. Yes.
Top. Each island has its own set of problems, and a model that is different. But look at Asia as a model, and it's been a successful economically, and we need to get rid of our ego. And again, let's build there's enough brains to build an economic plan for the Caribbean.
Yes.
Engage everyone with a commitment and make sure that there is a sovereign fund that is for the Caribbean as a whole to help us. The problem is Europe has tried a lot. The different countries have tried to help us, but there's not, because the paperwork is so heavy. We have Caribbean Development Bank, but we don't have like a actual Caribbean-wide sovereign fund with
Gregory,
effectiveness that will
we're
focus
frozen.
on certain areas with enough and adequate money. That's what we need. And we'll be back is one of the best business proposition. As that has been growing slowly lately, but some of our countries are growing at 5% a year, like the Dominican Republic. Guyana is a special case because of petroleum. Is the fastest growing country in the world. Suriname is going to be a huge boom. We can all benefit and make ourselves stronger. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So,
yes,
Audre Lorde said, "The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house." That's one of my favorite quotes. And we are in a unique position being multicultural in the Caribbean region, post-slavery, post-colonialism, with these very rigid structures. So what tools do we use to dismantle the house? How do you play in a rigged game and build empires? How?
The only way to do it is to bring why is it good for the other one. Okay, let's take France. Go to France and say, listen, all your islands are costing you a lot of money, and you have all those resources in Guyana. You don't have the labor to develop Guyana with all its resources. Martinique and Guadeloupe, for instance, are too small, and but they do have a lot of quality. They do have the banks. They do have the middle class that countries like Haiti don't have. Lend us your middle class, ship us our resources, we'll manufacture and we'll ship to the world from your raw materials. We can do that. And not only for Haiti, it can be for other places. The Bahamas, for instance, different islands, the different ways. We need to do for the Bahamas, I think, a revolution in transportation and logistics. Now we got very, so the islands get closer and closer, and we need to have all these new transportation technology, and we need to bring people to bring more hotels and more stuff. Each one of us have something that we can bring to the other, and that's what we have to do. If you take right now, I'm looking at. I was reading this morning about the new boats that come in that don't even touch the sea, that are ferries, and it goes 10 times faster than it goes as fast as a plane and goes 10 times faster than a boat, and it costs a tenth of an airplane ticket. We need to bring those things, and we need to bring center of excellence. So we get that, but your question is, it is the interest of for instance, of United States and Canada, for instance, that the Caribbean is strong and rich. Have a border where we don't bring immigration to them. In order to bring immigration, we need to improve a lot of our people. So we need to bring them a plan and say, okay, we're going to control immigration, but we need to make the lives of our people better so they don't emigrate. I mean, what is happening in terms of immigration in a place like US is defensive because nobody's bringing a proposal.
Yeah.
So they are just closing the border. Of course, there's a lot of rhetorics and politics in it. But basically, okay, we don't want to send you our doctors. We don't have enough. We don't. Most islands in the Caribbean do not have enough shrinks. Psychiatrists, because they all get a job somewhere as soon as they graduate, and we need them in our islands. We don't want
Yes,
to
we
send.
do.
Okay, we don't want to send you our labor. We're better off keeping our labor, but this is what we have to do. And we have a lot of effort to do in governance and corrupt. We have to fight corruption. We have to fight criminality. We have to fight the cancer. And we got to say we have a plan individually, but we have a plan as a whole to fight the cancer. And it's going to be good for you. And it's going to be good for you. We need your help, and we need you to do this in order for us to do that. That's what you call leadership, basically. And we have fine leaders today in the Caribbean. We have extraordinary leader. We got a prime minister of the Barbados. We have we have great leaders in the political life in Jamaica. We have great statesmen. I don't know all of them, but we have the brain power. We just have to believe in ourselves. The problem in the Caribbean is that it was a great project, and we need to go back to Marcus Garvey's dream, to Norman Manley's dream. We need to go. I forgot the name of your first prime minister,
Lyndon Pinling, Lyndon Oscar Pinling,
which I met one time, and amazing. We need to go back to these guys and their original thought, and find out how we got off it, because they had the idea.
Yeah, well, speaking to legacy, I want to talk about yours. So, what will they say about you when you're no longer here, you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that I love young people. I have served, never been in politics, but I've served. I've been president of Chamber of Commerce. I've served in international commission with head of states for reconstruction of Haiti. At one time, I had 11 former head of states, part of my that I was co-chairing President Clinton, and 27 of the world's most successful business people or Nobel Prize winners or different people. We brought a lot of solutions, but we faced a lot of difficulty because in our islands, we like islands are very interesting. They don't like the change. Don't like the ideas that come from overseas. I mean, I remember what's his name again? The famous book, The House of Mr. Biswas, was written by a Trinidadian Nobel laureate who passed away a few years ago. And interesting book. The name will come to me. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And basically, there was a foreword in the French version. It said, "Nowhere in the Caribbean do people build as high as a wall between different houses. Everybody's building either separation in the island because the enemy is your next door neighbor. And Sunday, everybody goes to see which cruise ship is arriving, to see new faces. Okay, and I think that we've suffered from that, and we have to do that anyway. It's a lot of talk. There's a willingness. There are some initiatives done through the Caribbean Association of, I forgot the name of the association, of private business people, that they just, after the Bahamas meeting of the former Vice President of the United States, asking for the Caribbean business community to become more united in their request. This is being done. A lot of efforts are being done by a lot of people, but we need to do more to have a concerted front and to have a negotiated approach, and to say this as a Caribbean, we need this, and we need a program, and we need a fund to be created to help us become a strong, instead of being the weak on the belly of the hemisphere, we want to be a strong defense and strong point of strength. And we can a diverse one, a rich one, but one that's significant. And the smaller Caribbean have less problem to solve because of less population. It's easier, and they are more recent. But they need the critical mass of consumers. The big Caribbean have bigger problems, but they need the financial resources and the middle class that has evolved from the smaller Caribbean islands like Barbados or Bahamas or other places. We need one another more than ever. As a Haitian, I think we need more than ever to have this inter exchange that can only benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I think because we economically we will only survive not by belonging to some kind of market. That time has already passed also, where we are the same market as a big country. We need to get together and to become a regional force and position ourselves. So instead of Walmart going, the vice president of Walmart going to buy, I don't know what, in Vietnam or Laos, he comes to the Caribbean and he goes to 2 or 3 countries. And each one of us does something. And we are strong and we finance our factories. And we don't have to wait for somebody to come and say, we want you to do this. We need to innovate, create inventors from our region, and we need to bank on our young ones. They're smarter than we are. Generation X knows what they're doing. They're well prepared. They're better schooled. They're better educated. They're amazing. But sometimes we don't offer them the opportunity to contribute to our society. So I see them
Yes.
everywhere. I see them in New York, I see them in London, I see them in Frankfurt, I see them in Paris. I would like to see them in our making the change, making the difference, and calling the shots.
Yes. I think one way that I would describe you in terms of your legacy is a visionary, much like your father, uh, a being who sees the I and I. Because as I asked you about you, the singular, you still said we. And you're still talking about what needs to be done. You don't stop. You are relentless. You have a champion spirit. And I truly admire that about you.
Thank you very much. I come from a very different country. I know very few people very few companies that have survived and have changed every 5 years, almost 100% of what they were doing before. We are artisans, we've learned the hard way in one of the most difficult countries in the world to do business and to evolve with incredible social problems. I'm very optimistic about my country. I think we'll solve the problem.
Yeah.
We'll have to solve the problem, but we'll solve the problem because we know what the problem is. What we lack, what we cannot solve, is because we don't have the means. I'll just give you, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I said, okay, it used to be a time that in order, for instance, a country like Haiti to be stable, we need 25,000 police people.
Mm.
With all those missions, and today we have 6,000 police people. And from the 6,000 police people, you divide that in 3 shifts, 2,000 people, and most of them are in Port-au-Prince. And and they have to defend a whole country of 12 million people. But when you take the budget that, according to United Nations, Haiti would need 26,000 policemen, 10,000, and it would need 1,000 judges and 10,000 cell jails, cell
Jail
jails,
cells. Mm-hmm.
jail cells. I'm sorry,
That's okay.
and that's a cost of $2.6 billion a year just to do that. And if you're doing it on the cheap, and I'm using West Africa budget standards, I'm not using Central America or South America. The total tax collection of Haiti is $850 million. The rest come from foreign aid that comes and doesn't come. So if it before the Treaty of Vienna, after the defeat of Napoleon in 18, and after the new world order, before what they call the world order was created, Haiti should have disappeared. I mean, the king of Haiti would have gotten his son married to the prince of the Bahamas, and they changed it around. But we don't live in these times anymore.
Yeah.
But we live in much more interesting times, where with technological change, very few things we can improve the life of people. We can, or today we don't have to have extensive land, and that's for Bahamas as well, to do agriculture. We do greenhouse with solar panels, and we do data centers in them, and we also produce enough for 150,000 people, food for 150,000 people with green lights and solar energy. These technologies exist, so you don't need to waste that much of a land. We have so many solutions because we're blessed in the Caribbean with so much sun, and we're tidal current, ocean thermal. We have so much that other countries that are in the cold have. We have all of that. So let's get going to it, and let's be the region. And as my legacy is I have worked very hard in solving problems of society. I have a lot of young people that I help as mentor. I know I have lived in different countries. I I I would like as a legacy to say it's possible to survive, and it's possible for business to remain high in ethical standards and succeed in the most difficult countries in the world. And people respect, and people, even the worst people, even the people that are criminals, if you have a good ethical behavior and you're helping people and you're doing the right thing in the country, there's always a residual respect that you get. And from that respect, you can rebuild and you can start again. Never surrender your passion. Never surrender what's good. Never surrender progress. And everything passes, the worst and the good. And our job as leaders, our job as elite, and when I say elite, I don't mean money, as elite in society, is to always be the beacon of light and say there's a better tomorrow and there's a better, and we have our values and we have our identity. The Bahamian have a strong identity around the world. We all know Harry Poitier, we all know Harry Belafonte, but both of them had some Haitian origin, by the way. But it's yes, and basically we know who we are. We are maybe too much, but we haven't found our place in the world because when this world, when it was created, there was no place for us. We're supposed to be slaves. Today, today with education, today with technology, there's no difference between a Bahamian and a Dane, okay, in capacity. I mean, we are all the same in this world.
We are.
So let's stop being shy. Let's grab it. Let's grab the opportunity at the moment. Let's work together, and let's make our countries better.
Thank you so much. I think if we were to have a discussion for 5 straight days, that we would not have touched the tip of the iceberg. There's so much to talk about. You have so much wisdom that we can benefit from. So thank you for sharing. And I would love to continue the conversation. We have not yet discussed the Haitian Revolution, climate change, a deep dive into entrepreneurship and how to amass wealth. We've tackled leadership, but there are more layers to explore. So I would love to continue exploring these subjects with you. This was a gift to me. This was a gift to the Soul Center podcast audience. Thank you so much, Gregory.
The pleasure is mine, and thank you for the honor you give me. The honor that you afford me and offer me on the platform. I really appreciated the moment with you, and I think I will finish it with a slogan: "One Caribbean is possible."
And so it is. One Caribbean is possible. Thank you. You've been tuned in to the Soul Center podcast. Hopefully, you've been centered.